Alrighty, hello every folks and welcome. Today we are discussing Roddy, namely Mr. King Rodrick down here in Palace of the Dead 115. Just so you know, it's not the boss that's actually hard here. It's the situation that's a little bit difficult. Because realistically, I mean, you've had random enemies that were more threatening than this guy by himself. So either way, let's get onto it here. So basically, this is the doppelganger fight part 2, namely, you're only fighting phase 1. They're technically a little harder than the original, and it comes with a little caveat that they will copy your items this time around. So if you were looking, for example, to do a shot spamming build, that will immediately get you a game over, because this is also a protection mission. See, the problem is not beating this guy. Honestly, if you're just fighting your own team, it would be very easy. The problem is keeping Warren alive in the process. So, for those unfamiliar with the fight, let's kind of break it down here. So, we zoom out all the way back to PSP graphics, which, by the way, I'm still convinced that this literally just uses PSP graphics once you zoom out. Like, look how suddenly more pixelated stuff gets when you zoom all the way out. Anyway. So, as before, they copy your doppelgangers. He comes in with the mix of 4 different cards. That's kind of whatever. We see over here the choker, which actually, what do the chokers do? So, I'm convinced at this point that when they're saying this affinity bonus over here, that it does actually apply both offensively and defensively, rather than having augments like before, because, yeah, even the chokers have that particular thing there. Any darn ways. So, looking at this here, we can see that he's going to come in with copies of your own units. If you're using items on those units, they will copy those items. But this is still subject to the same limitations of the AI. So, for example, if you have a bunch of buff items, like let's say you have at least one item on each of your units that's a buff item instead of a healing item, or in the case of her here, a set effect that does not affect the player, as well as just a bevy of different support items, you might have a far easier time. Like, you're basically looking to set up a team in which you have an advantage, but they don't. In the original version, this just consisted of abusing items, but because they copy your items, this means you got to think out of the box a little bit, because at the same time, you got to keep this aggressive wizard over here safe. He's going to charge in. Interestingly enough, Warren is actually classed as a boss this time around. So, for example, he's unable to be affected by advanced debuffs, and also seems to be unable to be knocked into pits. So that's kind of neat there. Just not really often that you get to see that. Anyway. As far as the guy himself, he's only got 2,000, but he's got the same skill loadout as Dorgy did. Namely, he's got his Condemn, so don't expect to do revive strats for too long. Risk Management, Meditate, and Death Proof, which again blocks only Poison, Petrify, Sleep, Charm, Stop, Curse, and Knockback, which is why you may have noticed this kind of weird team that we came in here with. Namely, yes, we are... what the hell am I selecting here? Namely, we are running a archer with a bowgun +1, because this build is hilariously good against bosses. Basically, what I've gone for here is I've taken a main character. I've given him a weapon with a stun effect on hit, Eagle Eye to avoid parries, and to guarantee that 100% chance for stun. Tremendous Shot for knocking units backwards. That'll be relevant in a moment. Engulf for the bonus range. Circlet for the 8% dark resist. Worm Scale for the extra resistance and mind. Worm Scale over here for the basically no actual practical benefit outside of vitality. The chain leggings here, just because I guess I was feeling ringed pants at that point, and then Ring of the Mind again for defensive purposes. The Griffin is there as a support. Basically, they're not terribly threatening physically without some help of their own. Additionally, he won't be using any kind of buff items, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Additionally, by the way, if you want extra lines here, bring Canopus or any other surviving Zenobians along. They will have lines for him, basically just stating that, oh yeah, you've been gone for a whole month, what gives? He's like, oh yeah, no, I've almost gotten out of here, what do you mean it's been a whole month? Basically implying that stuff works differently time-wise down here. Alright. So basically what we want to do is something along these lines. We're just going to go ahead and basin this guy. The reason being, we don't want him to be taking physical attacks at least that much. Like, for example, the archer will be able to scale very effectively versus this griffin, but won't be doing much against anybody else at this point. So basically what we're going for is attempting to get this griffin close by to Warren in order to give him that buff, as well as give him any healing that he needs, while also essentially drawing aggro. So as you can see right there, instead of going for the melee, he decided to go for the cast there. We want him to be burning through MP as much as possible, and also we want him to be targeting him at long range. Just so you know, the map is interesting around here, where some of the background tiles will essentially blend in with the actual map tiles. It's a weird little quirk, but kind of whatever. Anyway, what we want to do here is just get within range with our archer to try and stun this guy. We're just one tile out of range at this point, but the reason that we went for this particular build is because he can actually, as strange as it sounds, he can actually counter a lot of what this guy does while not being as much of a threat to us here. So, okay, that's certainly a move there, Warren. You just do you, man. So there's a few different aspects to this. Basically, Rodrick is weak to stun. We can go ahead and make that happen. We also have a Valkyrie over here that can block tiles because she's got the Stinky set, which technically does not affect us. Additionally, we also have knockback on this, well, on anybody, really. And what we're going for is fishing for knockbacks in order to try and get the two doppelgangers thrown into a cliff. All right? So basically, that unit can't fly, neither can Denim. As long as they can't fly, I mean, the Griffin's weak enough that we can just kind of take care of him, but as long as they can't fly, they can be knocked into pits. It's a little bit of a funny quirk here, but yeah, they're absolutely pit droppable. So what we want to do is stun Rowdy. We want to stun the Griffin. We want to finish off the Griffin, and then we want to insta-kill the other two into pits. So while they do have a lot of very oddly specific weaknesses, that is, we're essentially just abusing a bunch of game mechanics in order to make this a lot easier. Now, are there other ways to do this? Absolutely. I mean, one favorite that a lot of people have mentioned is that if you have Lord, you can just shield bash the Lord into a pit and basically take advantage of both high-end healing abilities as well as, well, several other things, really, to just get yourself out of that situation, no trouble. But, you know, if you're in a situation here where you're just kind of dealing with your standard party, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Now for the Griffin here, since he's kind of the weak end of the party, we're going to go ahead and try to set him up for future healing crits here. Additionally, we can use things like the Stinky set here, which is, as far as I'm concerned, practically guaranteed when it came to working our way through Palace of the Dead. I mean, I think I've gotten technically 2 full sets of the thing on the way down, so I'm going to go ahead and assume it's going to be fairly easy for most folks to get a hold of here. But basically, we can use that in order to block certain tiles. We can just kind of block them in a way that the AI does not understand. And as long as Warren's not taking hits, we're making progress. Additionally, this guy is not as fast as Dorgy was, so we can just, let's see, do we have Eagle Eye active at the moment? So let's double check that. No, we don't, so we're just going to go ahead and take the Trem here. So the kind of secondary bonus effect here of Tremendous Shot is that knockback, so if we can, like, it's not going to do anything to him, but essentially if we can get the other doppelgangers in this middle section here, it's very useful for knocking them into pits. So most of the time they'll charge ahead, they'll get themselves stuck in these corners here. We can find a good angle to just insta-kill them down a pit, and good to go. At that point, we can use our own Valkyrie to use ease on Warren here, just to make sure that he's safe. And then we should be all well and solid. This actually just gave us a nice little opportunity here to go ahead and buff him up, since he is going to be our primary damage source. So there we go. We'll go ahead and do that there. We'll go ahead and block this... we'll just go ahead and block right about here. And then we're going to go ahead and use probably a BOS on Mr. Warren here. Again, he's going to be our primary damage source, so the most that he does, the more that he does, the better. Thankfully, the AI in this case is going to decide to spread out a lot of its damage, because they can do the most damage to the Griffin, by the way. The guy's got a lot of health. He doesn't have a lot of defense, but he's got insane bulk. So, for example, he might do an extra, 50 whatever to 100 with those summons, but it doesn't particularly matter, does it? Like, they're stuck in a position where they're just going to be, they're going to be having a bad time. It's going to be doing extra damage, but that damage is functionally meaningless, if that makes sense. Alright. So we're just going to go ahead and salve up here. Just do a little bit of extra healing. We're going to move him back just a little so that he can get into position to knock these doppelgangers off. As long as they're not really part of the fight, we can deal with them in other ways. There we go. He's going to stumble. Again, just showing off how dang good some of these stun effects can be. So what we're going to do is step over here. We're going to probably just go ahead and take one of these heals. I was going to go for a health steal, but realistically, there's a non-zero chance that he's going to get piled on right here, so we're just going to give him a little bit of a minute. There we go. He's going to throw that stun out there. He's going to scale up a little tiny bit against the Griffin, but again, we're fine for the moment. Let's see if there are other units going to get into position to kind of ruin things, as it were. But as you can see here, it's not that his health is the craziest thing in the world. It just doesn't make sense to try and break through yet. So we're going to go ahead and drop in Enfeeble. Again, all item buffs and debuffs are guaranteed, so we might as well just go ahead and drop that on him. Hopefully he ends up getting himself targeted. We'll see how it goes. Again, she's going to be spreading out the damage in a way that's going to be completely meaningless. Again, just stun putting in work here. Firestorm coming in for those big hits. Yes, buddy. You keep telling yourself that. The king election was totally stolen from you. Anyway, so at this point, we just kind of see what options are available here. We can take a pretty decent health steal off of doppelganger over here. And in cases where you don't find the opportunity to knock them off a cliff, I mean, you could always just keep putting pressure on them. Like right here, since we're looking at this here and just kind of generally seeing that, he's not triggering his extra abilities. So we may not necessarily even have to insta-kill them, but if he does end up getting risk management going, that's something that we're going to have to deal with. So Eagle Eye triggers enough on its own that it's usually not even going to be a problem to have it up, but if you get a skill card, it might as well be 100% at that point. Alright, so there we go. As far as their Griffin, usually they'll end up going after Denim, because, lower physical defense on the Archer there. Alright, so they're going to go ahead and take the heal there. We are now in a position where we can get rid of Doppeldenim, so we're going to go ahead and speed him up at this point. Actually, you know what? Just for the sake of safety, we're going to go ahead and get this going right here. There's enough turns that we realistically don't have to do too much in terms of spacing or whatever else. Also, thanks, buddy. I mean, we just healed you, but sure, just go ahead and set the Valkyrie on fire. Rude. Anyway. So if you have Spellcraft, if you have Enfeeble, he's going to do pretty solid numbers when it comes to this guy. But really, whatever way you set up your team, you really just want to set him up in a way that lets you, throw out damage like this, more or less. That you want to be able to... actually, come to think of it, we have an opportunity here to maybe heal and drop at the same time. But you want to just set it up in a way where you can threaten him, and he can't threaten you. Dang it, stun, why are you so good? Alright, so, they're going to go ahead and dash. He's going to go ahead and do the counter punch, as you do. Their Griffin's really not much to worry about here. Alright, so we've got our Denim going. He should have a shot right here. Okay, that's just barely out of range. Well, bummer. Alright, what if... Can you potentially take this kind of shot right here? Do you have line of sight? You do, but I don't know if this is what this is technically going to count as. So we're going to roll this. I believe this might just do a 50-50, or it might consider it a knockback this way. Oh well. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Didn't work in that case. That's fine. Alright. So, fun thing that you can do if they decide to go for a cliff situation like this is you can actually try to knock them back with spell effects as well. So, if we were to... I don't know. Actually, we can actually do some pretty decent numbers on him right now, too. I mean, we can, I guess. Let's see, we can do that, we can heal, we can speed up. I feel like speed up's probably the optimal choice. Really, my mistake was bringing the Griffin in over there. I feel like we might have gotten a better shot otherwise. Anyway, so we continue blocking these tiles. They don't really understand why they're being blocked, so they're just going to kind of sit there. We can roll for another knockback chance with the Griffin. We'll go for that in a little bit here. Again, they're going to basically just keep burning through these healing items. You can technically also just not bring them, but either way. So we'll just go ahead and go for one of those. They're going to parry. That's a little bit rude, but oh well, you know. Sometimes the AI gets very, very lucky, and you just kind of deal with it. Alright. Go for the Wisp. And now we need to get that guy healed up. Okay. So, if we go over here, this should count for knockback purposes. This is, again, directly just a diagonal shot. This should still, hopefully count for the knockback here. Well, fine. It's just going to be awkwardly rude then. Alright. He's going to go ahead and take the full heal there, but either way, they're locked away. They're out of the fight. There's not really too much that they're going to be able to realistically do here. If we were to, let's say, throw out a Wisp here. It's actually, let's see. Actually, we can also just reduce this guy's attack, so we might as well go for that too. There we go. Alright. They will peck, but they will be resisted, so it will do next to nothing. And now he's probably going to go for another fireball. There we go. Continuing to pelt this guy away. All it takes is 4 fireballs from Warren to burn him away in this state. He's not exactly, again, a particularly difficult boss on his own. It's dealing with all of the rest of this that's a little bit of an issue. And, okay, he went ahead and got his stuff going. We'll deal with that in just a sec here. Papillonry. Okay, and she's going to go ahead and free herself. Man, the AI is doing pretty surprisingly good this time. Okay. So, next things next. We got the Engulf, so we might as well see if we got Loss. There we go, we got Line of Sight. It's going to go ahead and take the Tremendous here, and we're going to go ahead and go for the Stun. Now, one thing you can do also is just come in with a, if you want to come in with like a Damask Bow or something like that, you can technically inflict Leaden on the Griff and drop them off a cliff. Technically still an option. Alright. So, we're going to go for the Health Steal here and see if we can get the lucky knockback. And there we go, and he's gone. So, that'll be him gone. Again, this will apply to all of them. Like, they'll just keep getting knocked back ad nauseum here. Next, we're going to pick up a crit on you. We're going to go ahead and throw a heal on, I'm thinking you. He technically can do a full heal on himself. Okay, we're just going to top up Warren here. Worst case scenario, we're on a death clock, but I think we're pretty much going to be fine here. Drops the Meditate. I have a feeling he's going to go for a burn on... Yeah, it's something like it. On the Griff there. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh well, anyway, we're on a death clock now. So, conveniently though, we do have him pretty decently locked away here, so all we're going to do is get rid of the doppelgangers quickly now. So we're going to take care of that one right there. She's going to have good dark resist, but she's not going to have any light resist, I don't believe, at this point. So, we should hopefully be able to sort them out that way. It doesn't seem like the Griff's terribly interested in protecting him, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Let's see what we can do hit-wise. So we can do a Papillon. Actually, would Papillon be enough to finish you? Almost. It was worth considering. Maybe go for a Vial? I'm thinking we'll just do Papillon here. Just, let's see. Actually, if we go here, this might be worth considering just going for something like this. Go for the Wisp. The Wisp will roughly do about the same damage if it rolls crits, which it did. So now the Griff should be able to finish her off, and now we should be able to combine both crits and the higher damage from the other things to just pile on Rowdy here. Actually, if we go here, we can collect the rock. The rock should be able to do enough to this one to, yep, just finish them off right there. And then we should just be able to bum rush Rowdy here. See what Dude Guy decides to do. That kind of stuff. Again, since Condemn is active, if you lose Denim, obviously you're on a bit of a death clock. So not exactly ideal there, but either way, we can still deal with this as you do. So, let's go ahead and see. Let's see, Siphon gives us 12, that gives us 2. Well, I mean, it's better than nothing, I suppose, but I think what we're going to go ahead and do is have him bully this one right here. See if they can finish off this Griff. I don't really know how much time we're going to have to make that happen, but you know what? It's worth a shot. So Wisp is going to do okay. We know that we've got about roughly a 500 loaded up on Papillon that has a chance to crit, so go ahead and drop that right there. Take a short move to hopefully not take much damage. Hopefully he moves next to the... Okay, he didn't end up moving next to the Griff. Warren might still decide to target him. Let's see. Okay, no, Warren did not decide to target him. They're going for the Griff instead. We'll just continue spamming Essence, so I guess it's primarily up to us right now. Oh well, again, these things happen. So, let's see, 266 there, just a lifesteal there. Okay. Let's see if we can maybe crit this Papillon here. That would make this a lot easier. Okay, did not crit. Yes, yes. There's one of them. Goes for the risk management. Decides to go for the WAP, as you do. We might still potentially barely have enough time to actually do this here. Just barely. Especially if Warren decides to do something logical here, but realistically, he's going to keep doing as the AI does and going for the big number. All right. So, you again continue pressuring this guy. We've got one more move on the Valk to make this happen. Potentially, they might roll some crazy crits. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, if Rowdy wants to... Alright, Festa. Go ahead and roll the crazy crit for the win here. Otherwise, world's over. And there we go. She's just that good under pressure. Anyway, so then he dies and turns into a sack, as everybody else does. Merry Christmas. So, obviously, that went about as terribly as it could have. This guy is, got his guidebooks, got his forks. I believe he still has a chance to drop the Ogre Blade at this point, so I'm actually going to redo this a couple times just to check. But yeah, so that's one way to do it. Technically speaking, just stun alone is really good. The main reason I love the whole, bowgun and archer thing is just you can guarantee it, and unlike ninjas, they can be far away enough that they won't immediately die. So, either way, do with that information as you will. He himself is not difficult. It's setting up a doppelganger team that's able to essentially use debuffs to win the fight for you is the best way to go about this. Basically, high health, low defense is really good for just redirecting his aggro there. If you try to go in with your normal team, you'll get more storylines out of it. You'll get Canopus and Warren making fun of each other and stuff. But realistically, it's just not going to go very well. It's just going to be a bad time. And if you're wondering about those palace guides, basically they're shortcuts for Palace of the Dead. So at this point you get Warren, and then he joins you, and as far as Warren goes, he's alright. He's another unique wizard class. I wouldn't say he's anything that's too amazing this time around. He doesn't have his useless skills anymore, so at least there's that. He doesn't have the thing that calculates XP that you got, those 7 or 8 XP that you got off killing that one random, archer or whatever in Frampa. Anyway, he's got all the resonances, he's got Meditate, he's got Insight, he's got the same old 2 resists everybody else does, Daggers, Cudgels, Spellbooks, Engulf. His one unique thing this time is Stardust, so it's a guaranteed chance to remove Stun, Silence, and Petrify, so it's a really solid kind of endgame AoE support type thing. Very handy specifically for getting through Palace of the Dead, especially around Cockatrices. He's got the anti-Cockatrice automatic, so, do with that as you will. Not really sure why he's got concentration on here, but he never uses his buffs. We'll just go ahead and put Engulf on there just to fix him. And just to show how these work real quick, we're going to go through Palace of the Dead, or not through it, but we're just going to show how you can speedrun 75 floors of the Palace of the Dead in about 2 minutes. So we walk all the way across the world over here, you walk into POTD, and it's you go to the first floor, and then it's would you like to go directly to 25? Yes. So then you go ahead and use the book, and you teleport, and you can skip that cutscene. And then you show up to 25, and then it's like, oh, I'm on 26 now. This is pretty neat. Do you want to deal with this map, or would you like to go to 50? Well, I would like to go to 50, please. And then, just like every other phone book, you use it to teleport. Naturally, this is how people got around before Uber. And then over here, and they're like, oh, well, hey, now you can go directly to 25. How does that make you feel? And you're like, oh, cool. Everything around floor 70 was an absolute nightmare. I'd love to skip straight to the floors that just drop loot like candy. And then there you go. You basically are all the way here. So this allows you to jump around POTD kind of as you will to get stuff wherever you'd like. If you want to go farm for this, that, or the other. If you're missing any pieces of sets, if you're missing any of that stuff, you know, there you go. So that'll be that. Hopefully this was helpful. I know it was a little bit haphazardly done, but you know what? Busy schedule today. Okay, so quick little minor correction there. In terms of the Ogre Blade there, apparently it actually doesn't drop from Rodrick anymore. According to them data mining folks, looks like it actually drops from the Blackmoor fight at this point. That is to say, apparently the Lich King and Lich Queen apparently have a 100% drop rate on the Ogre Blade, but then a 5% drop rate on the rest of the Ogre set, I presume in individual chunks. Don't know if we're, 100% positive on that. But either way, just so you're aware, if you're looking for the Ogre Blade, there's that. Also, apparently the Ogre Blade has whether it's a bug or a feature, I'm assuming it's a feature, it has a thing now where you can basically carry over any two-hander class into any other class for all intents and purposes. So, for example, people were making like singing berserkers, and people were making all kinds of weird combinations, like combining a hoplite and I think it was like combining a hoplite into a patriarch kind of thing, which granted they've got very similar skills, but at the same time you could potentially combine the kind of the maximum version of evade and probably the maximum version of apostate. So that'd be hilarious. Just like combine ivory tower and I think it's intercession. So just basically avoid everything entirely for 2 to 4 different events. Either way, that's kind of for you to experiment around with. Considering how much effort it actually takes to get the Ogre Blade now, honestly, it 100% seems like a feature. Basically, for those unaware, the purpose of the Ogre Blade is basically a body snatch weapon. It's a endgame, not even super weapon necessarily. If you combine it with the Ogre set, like any 3 pieces of the Ogre set will work. Honestly, there's better uses for the Ogre set, like for example, a light crossbow with the Ogre shield, helmet, and armor. Was basically the best equipment that you could get in the original. But for example, in this one, it seems like there might be a little bit of a different situation going on there. I'd say as far as the Ogre set is concerned, the actual set itself is going to take a lot more effort to get to. You basically need to have acquired the 4 Wind God weapons, so that's the Boreas, the Zephyros, the Euros, and the Notos. Those are the... oh, dear lord, that guy hits like a truck. Anyway, welcome to post-game. This is my first time running into the Heaven Generals. When it comes to those, whatchamacallits, to those Wind God weapons, as far as I'm aware, most of them should still be in Palace of the Dead, if not all of them. They're counted as relics this time, so you're not limited to one oddly specific enemy, like 80 floors in. Man, oh man, was that thing a complete pain in the neck to get a hold of last time. Like, in the PSP version, for context, you had to specifically go way, way, way out of your way to go get rid of one flesh golem, like, I think, like, floor somewhere 80 to 90, whatever. And then hope that he rolled his, like, it's not really a percentage chance, but just basically rolled for a chance to drop his Euros there. And on top of that, you had to have gone through all of Palace of the Dead, but then you also had to have, left, already have beaten Nibeth on that particular route, and then also gone to San Bronza, so you're already in Coda 2 at that point. And then at that point, you had to have gotten the Notos, or it was either the Notos or the Zephyros that you got off some random griffin in San Bronza for some reason. That one's just kind of off by itself for reasons. This time around, they seem to, again, drop as relics, so, you can get more of them. You can, more frequently get a hold of them there. At least, thankfully, you don't need to clear out Palace of the Dead to get or you don't have to kill Nibeth to get Secrets of the Master. So there's that. You can get the Heaven Generals a bit earlier. But if you want the Fire Crest, if you want the Ogre set, you need to get those 4 Wind God weapons. You had to have killed Nibeth in your main playthrough. And then you have to go back in Coda 2, clear out the whole place, and then Blackmoor will appear in place of the Lich King, along with a Lich King and Lich Queen backing him up, and those are the ones that'll be dropping those Ogre items. So, either way, quite a ways to go to get your D&D reference. Definitely quite the adventure to get there, although, man, the progression even into endgame is surprising, I gotta say. It's been a very pleasant surprise to see that the post-game is actually still difficult. Like, as you already saw, it's not only that they hit hard, you can definitely do stuff about that. I'm just kind of leaving it on AI to see how it does. But yeah, it's been surprising to, for example, go into Coda 2 and kind of get thrown into a bit of a rude awakening there, as they're suddenly coming in, you know, looking like they just came out of the Night of Lotus game there, looking like they actually came prepared for something serious, as their entire team is running around, you know, with relics. Technically speaking, 20 levels over the level cap, though really, by endgame, levels are just more of a number. It's not really meaning much at this point. Between charms, cards, and natural growths and whatever else, realistically, a lot of these level numbers are just more for the sake of, hey guys, just so you know, this guy's strong, he hit good, so, you know, there's that. Like, for example, this guy that's technically a level 62 boss hits way harder than any of those level 70s I was just talking about. Anyways, that'll be that. You guys have a good one. Hopefully this was helpful, and, yeah, see you in the next one.